Alright, so we got a bunch of brand new updates about Cyberpunk 2077. We've got the headline right here. Joseph Fares thinks Cyberpunk 2077 got an unfair amount of crap. We'll just word it that way. So you guys may remember Joseph Fares. He is the guy that made A Way Out, and he's infamous and pretty famous for saying F the Oscars on the Game Awards. You remember him right here. But also we're going to be talking about this right here, the recent attack, or cyber attack I should say, on CD Projekt Red was actually much worse apparently than we first thought. Cyberpunk 2077 developers locked out of workstations following cyber attack. This report says right there. Then there's also this typo that's in Cyberpunk. It's practically everywhere. Well, guess what? It apparently is not a typo at all. CD Projekt Red confirms exactly what's going on with that. So let's dive into the latest happenings right now. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good, and let's do this. So first of all, let's talk about Joseph Fares here. He can be freaking entertaining when he goes on those Game Award shows, and whenever he's in some sort of interview or what have you. But let's talk about this right here. The article goes on to say this: famously outspoken It Takes Two director Joseph Fares thinks that consumers were too hard on Cyberpunk 2077. The Swedish-Lebanese movie director and game designer took to Twitter Spaces in a chat with Jeff Keighley, and a fan question prompted his analysis of the whole Cyberpunk situation. Now, in the absence of live gaming events like E3, this is actually interesting. It says Keighley has been active in finding new ways to connect gaming fans with creators. He hosted a few Zoom calls where a select group of fans can sit in as he interviews developers and designers. Twitter Spaces is a new platform for such talks, allowing any Twitter account holder with iOS to join a group call. So that's what was going on right here, and it happened on March 4th. So let's go ahead and take a look. It says one listener asked Fares about the challenges of developing a game during lockdowns imposed by COVID-19 pandemic. Fares counted himself lucky that his biggest in-person work, motion capture, fell in between windows of restriction. This helped It Takes Two stay on track for its March 26th release. So yeah, he's developing a new game right there. It says continuing with this thought, he expressed sympathy for the tough choice the pandemic placed on other game developers. Many had to choose to delay, something we've seen with a lot of 2021 games, and of course you've seen that with movies. Now it says this is where Cyberpunk entered the conversation. It says Fares reflected on the consumer reaction to the bugs and performance issues Cyberpunk faced upon release. Cyberpunk got an unfair amount of crap, he said. The listener who asked the question responded with, "You think it was unfair?" Fares pointed out it was a witch hunt that took place, perhaps referring to the alleged death threats sent to Cyberpunk developer CD Projekt Red. In the end, it seems that Fares supports giving CDPR some leeway due to the circumstances Cyberpunk was released under. So I gotta ask, do you guys agree with Fares on this whole assessment that basically the community for Cyberpunk were way too harsh on the game's release? When it comes to the PS4, Xbox One, I totally disagree with that. With the base version, I think people were fair in the assessment that it just looked absolutely horrible and was basically unplayable, and in many cases it still is in certain areas of the city from what I understand with Digital Foundry and what they have shown. Of course, the good news is that CD Projekt Red is apparently hard at work on that next big update 1.2, so I can't wait to see what happens with that one. We might be like 10 days away from that release if we're looking at mid-March. That is what they have said for the release of that one. But yeah, hopefully that it all works out with that. But let me know if you agree with Joseph Fares on the whole assessment. You know, in some parts I do agree with him, on other ends I don't, because I think that there is somewhat of a good game here. There's some mechanics here that are solid. It's kind of like an Anthem situation for me. I really loved the core combat in Anthem, and it's a shame that game was completely canceled recently. But yeah, we'll see if this one can actually have a turnaround. Now, what about this? Developers locked out of workstations following cyber attack, with employees asked to freeze accounts. So this is another thing that's slowing everything down for CD Projekt Red. It says CD Projekt yesterday announced that the next update for Cyberpunk has been delayed until March following a severe cyber attack that held source code and internal documents to ransom. A new report by Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, has now detailed exactly how disruptive the attack was, leaving employees locked out of their workstations for 2 weeks and scrambling to freeze personal accounts. Wow. It says, according to Bloomberg report, most CD Projekt employees are currently working from home due to the coronavirus pandemic. As a result of the cyber attack and CD Projekt's refusal to pay the ransom, employees have been unable to log into the company's virtual private network for weeks, leaving the majority of developers unable to access the tools and systems required for their work. Some employees were also asked to send their computers to CD Projekt's IT staff to check whether malware had been installed during the attack. So this is so much more of a mess than I even realized. And I think a lot of people don't realize how extensive it was. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if patch 1.2 doesn't even make like the mid-March release date. I wouldn't be surprised if it was released late March or something like that. That's just me speculating, but this sounds like it's super serious right here. Now, it goes on to say this. On top of this, the report says the hack may have exposed employees' personal information, such as Polish identification numbers and passport details. CD Projekt apparently asked staff to freeze their accounts and report the breach to relative parties right there. So it just sounds like a disaster has happened. Once again, hopefully they are getting past it more and more as the days go on. So yeah, we'll see. Also, check this out right here. It says Cyberpunk typo isn't a typo after all. Let me know if you noticed this one. It says there are plenty of details inside Cyberpunk 2077 with no shortage of hidden references found throughout the game. However, one Cyberpunk player believes he found a major slip-up with one of those details, as a misspelled word can seemingly be seen throughout the game. So if you go down here to Twitter, it says, played Cyberpunk for so many hours and just realized they spelled delivery wrong all over the city and never patched it, LMAO. So if you go to the actual Twitter post right here, you can see it says devilry right there. Now, the official Cyberpunk account actually responded saying, it's not a typo, chums. Devilry is the name of the parcel locker company in Night City. It's a play on words. So you can see right there that they actually intended that. So a lot of people were mistaking that for an actual glitch or error or something like that. That is not the case. It's intentional. It's kind of just a play on words, as confirmed by CD Projekt Red. Now, this is an interesting one right here, and it's true. Cyberpunk 2077 is now alone in its pursuit of redemption. It says, even with the cancellation of Anthem, Cyberpunk fans are still hoping something like a reboot might be in the cards for CD Projekt Red's latest game. Honestly, that's what I'm hoping to hear about. Once we get through these major fixes, hopefully CD Projekt Red can take a step back, produce some sort of major roadmap for us, and say, hey, you know what? The plan is, in a year, we are going to be re-releasing the game with like a definitive edition version, so you can really enjoy some of the missing content features, the game without all the bugs and glitches, and it's working in all of its glory. Now, I never expect them to 100% fix the Xbox One and PS4 base versions of the game. I don't know if that's going to even be possible, you know, again, with the architecture and the current problems that those actually have, unless they downgrade it significantly in the future. Now, check this out. I thought this was really cool. I actually got down watching Captain America recently. So Captain America Cyberpunk 2077 art is the video game we deserve. This is so freaking cool. Look at this. It is a really cool piece of fan art of Chris Evans, Captain America in the video game we deserve. CD Projekt Red's hotly anticipated role-playing game. Yeah, we already know all this, so if we scroll down here, we can see it's by Miserio, I believe it is, who recently posted some art to their Instagram page. Check them out, by the way, and it is really freaking cool. It'd be cool to see, like, a Marvel Captain America game set in the future or something, or the Marvel Universe going more futuristic, bouncing back and forth between future and modern. That would be pretty neat. So that caught my attention. Let me know what you guys make of it in the comments down below. And mentioning comments, it's time for, you guessed it, top comments. So remember, sound off, give your opinion, could end up right here in a future video. So Let's do this first top comment of this video right here. This is my recent video. It's new updates. Manager urges CD Projekt Red to return to its roots. God of War Ragnarok PS5 update. So let's see what you guys had to say. Betwee says, people at CD Projekt Red should forget about Cyberpunk Online. They can't even handle the single-player mode. The online formula worked so well for GTA 5 because the single-player game they had was solid. Cyberpunk is not solid at all. Totally agree. They got to basically, you know, get the core roots done. Cyberpunk, at its core, isn't there yet for them to build anything off of it. You know what I mean? Multiplayer included. Now, it says, KFXG says, all this stuff about issues with last-gen consoles is really stupid in my opinion. The game was announced before Xbox One and PS4 even came out, and the first release date for the game was before the Series X and PS5 came out. I don't understand how they couldn't get it working properly on the systems that were current with the game was originally supposed to come out. I don't agree with this last-gen excuse, and COVID can't be to blame too heavily either. I still enjoy the game on Xbox One quite a bit, but I know right from the character creation screen that something was up. So yeah. Slick Silver says CD Projekt needs to return to their roots like The Witcher. Isn't Cyberpunk literally their first non-Witcher game since the Witcher series? That is 100%, I think, correct. Yeah, they did Gwent and everything as well. Raw says they not only need to fix Cyberpunk, but work on the promised branching paths, and that decisions that really actually matter right there. Anonymous Gamer says, no, they knew what they were doing. They just lied about content and didn't take their time. And yes, Witcher was a single player, but it was also open world. Absolutely. Keen says, how can they talk about the sales of the game on next gen when there isn't even a native next gen PS5 or Series X version? Yeah, so hopefully we also mentioning next gen. Hopefully we get news about what's going on with the big next gen update. That's probably been pushed out even further now. You know, it was supposed to be coming out halfway through this year, but I don't expect that at all. I think things are going to be pushed further and further because of this hacking thing. But there you have it. The latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, I am going to be covering other games. You guys may have noticed that as well. So expect that to ramp up. But I will keep you guys in the know about what is going on with Cyberpunk. I'm sure many of you are still curious. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you next time. Take care.